By the end of this video, I'm going to show you a universal prompt you can use to get exactly the results you want from Nano Banana, whether you're working with a loose sketch or a fully hand-drawn presentation board from decades ago. In the first few videos, we saw the amazing things Nano Banana could do with a dead simple black and white sketch you make in real time describing a current day design problem. But here I wanted to test something much harder. What happens when you feed it those carefully rendered drawings many of us produced before the computer era? Not quick sketches, but finished boards full of texture and specificity. Would that richness help the AI or confuse it? And more importantly, could there be one simple system of prompting that works for both? So, of course, I'm always looking for the fantasy of the one-click solution. Just upload an image from the past, paste in the universal prompt, and voila, instant portfolio-grade project. So I tried that first thing for this image using the simplest one-sentence prompt I could reconstruct from my earlier experiments. Generate an architectural photograph of this scene. Keep all geometry and details the same. And look at that, even that flower is there. Everything's just exactly where it was in the sketch, and all with a single sentence prompt. So next I looked at the project I called the Roxydicus Road House. This was a spec house I wanted to build many years ago on top of a beautiful hill out in the horse country of New Jersey. But here again, let's just use that one single sentence prompt. Generate architectural photograph of this scene. Keep all geometry and details the same. And I'll keep my pencil here so we have a point of reference. And just like magic, the tree is there, the terraces are there, the exact same mullion patterns, the chimney, the people over here under the umbrella at the picnic table, even the cars here in the driveway. So again, pretty phenomenal. And so next I wanted to try that single sentence prompt on what I call the Dutch house, which was a project I did on my own. I designed it because I wanted to show how much fun it is to design in Procreate, and because I'm always thinking about ways to be modern without necessarily resorting to flat roofs. So again, the same prompt, generate architectural photograph of the scene, blah, blah, blah. And this time, whoops, super cartoony. It has literally kept the drawing I did of these trees in the background. It's kept the cartoony leaves, the cartoony pool, even the cartoony rendering of the building. This is not in any way an architectural photograph that I was expecting, so something went wrong. So let's try this again. The one sentence prompt on this image of what I call the tower house. And I'll keep my pencil here so we can compare what comes back. And wow, this is really bizarre. I mean, this looks like if you'll forgive me, a child's drawing, a child's watercolor rendering of a house. All of the trees have been extremely literally interpreted and just colored in. This is disturbing. Again, not the architectural photograph I wanted, so something's wrong with the single sentence prompt. And it looks like we're going to have to find a different way to create that universal prompt to make upgrading your whole portfolio much simpler than this. So I went back to the more elaborate method. I dictated what I wanted into a separate Gemini thread. I let Gemini engineer the prompt, then pasted that into Nano Banana. And sure enough, it worked. The tower house came back much closer to what I had in mind. But it meant remembering the structure, the cutting and pasting between windows, thinking through materials every single time. Not terrible, because the results were great. But it still wasn't the universal holy grail prompt system I was looking for. So I went back and used the same strategy on the Dutch house, dictated the prompt into a separate Gemini thread, let it optimize it, then paired that with the original sketch. And don't worry if the prompts fly by, you can download the full versions below. And this time, much better. Real trees, believable lawn, clean, simple finishes. Pretty much what I had in mind. Still a little austere, which I'll refine later, but honestly, I was just relieved the old prompt strategy worked. But prompting these one at a time was exactly what I was trying to avoid. The whole point here is to help us revive those fully hand-drawn presentation boards, finding a universal way to honor the original design without agonizing over each image. That's what I worked on next, and the way it unfolded was pretty interesting. So I started asking myself a different question. Was there a pattern behind every successful prompt? And when I looked closely, I realized Nano Banana always needed 4 things: materials, setting, light, and story. It didn't matter how fancy the wording was. If those 4 pieces were clear, the image improved dramatically. And that's when I remembered something. For weeks, Gemini had been asking if I wanted to add instructions to its personal intelligence section, instructions it would always remember. And I'll admit that sounded slightly creepy, but then I thought, what if instead of rewriting prompts every time, I created a stored instruction set, a kind of automated dialogue? So I opened a new Gemini thread and asked it to help me write one. Instead of me rebuilding the prompt every time, I wanted something that would shift the burden off of me and onto Gemini, a system that would wait until I uploaded an image, then wake up when I typed a single trigger word. I chose the word studio. When I type studio after inserting an image, it resets the conversation, no bias from previous images, and asks 4 simple questions about materials, setting, light, and story. I just answer them, one at a time, no engineering language, no structure to remember, no copying and pasting. Once we had the script where I wanted it, I copied the text, opened the instructions panel, tapped the add button, and pasted the full instruction set into Personal Intelligence, then hit save. And just so you know, you don't have to pause the video or try to capture any of this. The complete prompt and full instruction set are included in the free download that goes with this video. Now with this prompting script in hand, let's test it on the 4 hand-drawn portfolio projects I'm hoping to convert. I'll start with the Roxitticus Road spec house. When prompted, I asked for wood siding and industrial steel windows. I placed the house on a bluff overlooking the Hudson River. I set it at 11 o'clock on a bright Sunday morning, and I asked to see the owner sitting in the shade of the tree reading in the foreground. That's it. And right away, the geometry and the design intent held together beautifully. Now here's the important part. Once the base image is working, you don't have to keep answering the same 4 questions. You can just narrate simple changes directly into the prompt box. So for the first revision, I asked it to clean up the foreground, remove the plant, replace the tree with a simple overhanging branch, and place the owner on a picnic blanket in the middle of the field looking towards the river. And it handled that very well. So I'm chalking that up to a success, and let's move on to the tower house next. And what really mattered here was making sure the trees didn't end up looking like Christmas cookies or white plaster bas-relief, and I was especially concerned about the detail buried in the shaded side of the house next to the garage, and I wanted to see if Nano Banana would actually understand it. And wow, sure enough it did. It made beautiful decisions about the contrasting colors between the tower and the main volume. It clearly understood what was window and what was trellis to the left of the garage, and the geometry held. The only misstep was in the front yard. It interpreted the shadows I had drawn as some sort of decorative border, which was not my intention. So I revised it. I asked for a pool and a field of wildflowers in front of the house. Now the garage disappears from view, but it still understands that the land drops off, the entry and the driveway remain hidden behind the wildflowers, and the owner is still sitting on the porch in a rocking chair enjoying the view. So I consider this a smashing success as well. Next up was what I call the modern Dutch house, and this time I wanted to avoid this whole suburban lawn thing altogether. So I asked it to keep all of the orange walls and end dormers as wood siding, to add nano wall doors between the house and the pool, and to raise both the house and the pool on a raised terrace. And it recomposed my drawing, which I wasn't expecting, but I think it did it so it could show that raised terrace. Except I didn't really mean for the pool and the terrace to be raised on separate planes. So in the next iteration, I changed up the whole setting. I asked it to place the house in Sea Ranch, California, with a more primitive palette on a moody gray day with mist rising from the pool, and it absolutely nailed it. But that made me curious how the same structure would look on a sunny day at Sea Ranch. So I asked for a change in atmosphere, and because it was starting to feel a little lonely, I asked it to place an author who had rented the house for the weekend at a table on the terrace to the left, writing his or her next great novel, and the results were striking. Now, we've already had a lot of success with a single sentence prompt on the next one, but I wanted to push it further. I wanted to see if Nano Banana could move beyond the specificity of that original image and help me tell entirely different stories, but with the same architecture. And again, all of these prompts are in the free download that comes with the video. But let me just read what I asked for at each phase, and let's enjoy what happened together. First, I asked it to change this to a cold, drizzly Halloween evening, lights glowing in the house, spooky decorations, children and parents in costumes trick-or-treating, jack-o'-lanterns lining the walkway. Wow, pretty cool. Now let's shift to a snowy February morning just after dawn. the moment the mom steps onto the porch in her bathrobe and realizes it's going to be a snow day for the kids. A school bus is driving away, the driver is waving warmly, and there's a sidewalk there now, but please extend the frame to include the bus on the right. No problem with that one. Now the last one is the mind blower. Show the house being built the previous summer. Show open 2x6 framing, no siding yet. The crew is raising the roof joists. There are masons on scaffolding building the chimney. And to the right, the owner, the architect, and the contractor at the tailgate of a truck, coffee in hand, reviewing the plans, happy the project is going smoothly. And just look at the detail on this one. Here's our architect, here's our owner, the two of them leaning over the plans at the tailgate, coffee in hand. Here's the same foliage we saw before, but now it's late summer, no flowers. The 2x6 framing is completely exposed. You can see right through it, and everything inside the house that's visible actually makes sense. The rafters are being laid into place. There are engineered wood headers sitting properly on king studs at either side of the window and door openings. You can even see the diagonal bracing holding the walls plumb, exactly the kind of temporary structure you'd expect on a real site. And there are the masons up on the scaffolding finishing the chimney. The clear-story windows that will eventually help with passive summer cooling are already implied in the framing. So many parts of this image feel completely typical of a real construction site in a good way. It's beyond anything I was expecting. And it really opens up a whole new world of possibilities for educating clients, for showing prospective clients how thorough our thought process actually is, even for winning competitions by going beyond the polished final rendering and showing the intelligence behind the construction process itself. To learn more about the drawing and AI prompting techniques you saw today, or to join my live weekly draw-along workshop, all the resources are linked in the description below. That's also where you can download the final sketches and prompts and try this workflow yourself. To see the next video in the series, click right here, and I'll see you in the next one.